Namah Shreyati-Rajaya Vivekananda-Suraye Satchit-Sukha-Swarupaya Swamine Tapaharine Swamine Tapaharine.
Well, namaste. Welcome to the second day of our discussion on Caraka-Saṁhitā. So, in the last class, we had an overall introduction, and just to summarize what we discussed, we decided and we understood that the goal of this course is to do an in-depth study of Caraka-Saṁhitā. In fact, get an understanding of how to do a deep study of the original texts, and it may not be possible to cover all the 9,000 verses of Caraka-Saṁhitā in a course because it is a lifetime engagement, and we will understand as we move forward how deeply we have to engage with even simple verses, to be able to get a deeper insight and meaning. So this Sutra Sthana is said to be the Shloka Sthana otherwise. Shloka Sthanam Samuddishtam Tantrasyasya Shirashubham Chatushkanam Maharthanam Sthanesmin Sangraha Krataha. So Shloka Sthana or Sutra Sthana is like the head of the Samhita. All the important basic concepts are actually included here. And this Sutra Sthana, as I mentioned in the previous class, has 30 chapters divided into 7 quatrains or chatushkas. Each chatushka having 4 chapters, and the last 2 chapters represent, the summary of the sthana and the summary of the whole text. So these chatushkas deal with specific themes. They are thematic, and the first chatushka, 4 chapters together, Dirghanjiviti Adhyaya, Apamarga Tanduliya, Aragvadhiya, and Shadvirejana Shatashrutiya. These 4 together make up what is called Bheshaja Chatushka, or the quatrain dealing with medicine, or treatment. Now this is a question, why does the first Chatushka itself deal with medicine? Because Ayurveda gives so much importance to prevention. Because the second Chatushka is Swastha Chatushka, which is actually focusing on prevention and healthy lifestyle. So Caraka-Saṁhitā puts medicine first and prevention next. Then we have the Nirdesha Chatushka, Kalpana Chatushka, Roga Chatushka, Yojana Chatushka, Annapana Chatushka, and then the last 2 chapters being the summary of the Sthana, Sutra Sthana, and the summary of the whole Granth. So Nirdesha Chatushka are 4 chapters on guidelines for health management. Kalpana Chatushka on therapeutic purification procedures, Roga Chatushka on classification of diseases, Yojana Chatushka on how to manage diseases, Annapana Chatushka on diet, food and beverages, and Sangrahadhyaya again, as I said. So we are now dealing with the Bheshaja Chatushka. And we will start reading the text very shortly. But before that, it is very important to understand or think at least about why Bheshaja Chatushka came first. Why treatment has been placed before prevention. Can anybody answer? So one of the important things we need to understand is why Bheshaja Chatushka comes before Swastha Chatushka. Why Bheshaja Chatushka comes before Swastha Chatushka? Ideally, we should have started with preventive measures, but the Acharya is immediately talking about treatments and cures and medication. Can anybody guess why this approach is chosen by the text? There is no response, so I will try to answer. See, the Shastra is written out of compassion, out of Bhudanukampa. So the first chapter itself says why Ayurveda was discovered. Vigna Bhuda Yada Roga Pradurbhuda Sharirinam Tapopavasa Adhyayana Brahmacharya Vardayusham. So when the diseases manifested and caused obstacle in the pursuit of the higher goals of life, that is when Ayurveda was discovered. So first we have to have compassion for the sick. We have to cure the sick first before giving them advice on prevention. Majority of the people do not follow the healthy way of life and they are already sick. So Caraka-Saṁhitā is set, it is like the first World Health Assembly of sages. The WHO assembles every year, World Health Assembly, to discuss about the health of the people in the world, what problems affect them. Now, a similar assembly, I would like to characterize this as the first ever World Health Assembly in the world, where the rishis all assembled at the foothills of Himalaya and discussed the health problems of human society, of the entire mankind. And you will learn also in this chapter, Atha Maitri Vara Punyam Ayurveda Punarvasu Shishyebhyo Dattavan Shadbhya Sarva Bhodanu Kampaya. So Maitri means Parartheshu Swartha Buddhi. Having selfish goals for others, not for yourself. That is the meaning of Mitra. One who can think for others as they would think for themselves. That is how the word Maitri is defined. So Ayurveda has come out of that great, emotion for the welfare of the whole of humanity. And so the Acharyas realized that first we have to save the sick. First we have to give assurance that even if you are sick, don't worry, there is treatment. You can be brought back to health and then you can be taken to a higher level of well-being. So for this reason, Bheshaja Chatushka is mentioned even before Swastha Chatushka. So in my understanding, this is because of the compassion. The whole Caraka-Saṁhitā is overflowing with the theme of compassion. Maitri Karunyamarteshu Shakye Pridiru Upekshanam Prakrtistheshu bhuteshu vaidyavrittis chaturvidha. So how should a physician behave? A physician should have maitri to everybody. So this is mentioned in a future chapter. So everywhere this theme of maitri, thinking for others like you would think for yourself. Karunyam, coming out of utmost compassion. So because Caraka-Saṁhitā is moved by this emotion of compassion, you cannot say compassion is just an emotion. It is a deep and refined higher state of spiritual awareness in which compassion flows. So this also shows that Ayurveda has a deep spiritual basis, and that is why compassion is given utmost importance. There is a story of Nagarjuna who wanted to get a disciple to transmit the knowledge, and he did a test. He announced that disciples are going to be chosen, and two young people came to him, and he said, "Let me test you before I decide who will be my disciple." And the test was that he said, I will now demonstrate how to make a rasayana, a very powerful medicine that we are using in Ayurvedic treatment. You must watch it carefully, and you must repeat this whole exercise at home and come back with the medicine to me, the next day. So then he very carefully showed both of them how to make the rasayana. And the next day, both of them came. One of them came with the medicine and the other came empty-handed. So Nagarjuna first tested the rasayana that was made by one of the prospective disciples. And he tested and said, "This is really very good. You have been very, very observant. You have made the medicine exactly as it should have been done." Then he looked at the other person and asked him, "Why did you not make the medicine? Could you not understand how to do it?" And then that young man said, "Of course, I observed to the best of my abilities how that medicine should be prepared. But the moment I stepped out of your home, I found an old man in distress. He really needed to be helped. So I had to take care of him, and I spent the whole day attending to his needs, and I could get home only after, I made sure that he was well taken care of and, in good hands. So after that, I did not have the time to make the medicine." Now Nagarjuna said, "You are the one I choose, because medicine is 90% compassion. And I can always teach you how to make the medicine, but I cannot teach you compassion." So he told the other boy that, "I'm sorry, I cannot take you because you do not have that inbuilt compassion in you." So this is the theme of Ayurveda, that medicine is first and foremost compassion. And that is why the whole Bheshaja Chatushka is based on the theme of compassion. And as we read through the verses, you will find this Maitri Bharatvam, Bodhanukampa, and all these words being repeated again and again. So that's a brief introduction for today. So let us now start reading the text. So here it is. The first verse is actually a small bit of prose introducing the chapter. But when you read a classical Ayurvedic textbook, you cannot ignore anything. Every word needs to be read and analyzed very carefully. So here is the first chapter, Athādo Dirghanjivitiyam Adhyayam Vyakhyāsyāmaha. Usually we just read it very casually, this passage. You would just say, okay, this is the name of the chapter, that's it. But we cannot take it so lightly. There are so many things that is conveyed by just this one small phrase. Athādo Dirghanjivitiyam Adhyayam Vyakhyāsyāmaha. So the first thing is, before you start describing a Shastra, just like compassion is the basis, motivation is also a very, very important factor. Because, already, I don't know, today we are seeing only 64. On the first day, there was more. On the third day, I don't know how many will be. Because as the days go by, the motivation will come down. So they are all, first of all, the Shastra is discussing. I am going to expound this Shastra, but how many people are going to be motivated to study this till the end? That is a question the Acharya is asking. So there are many, many things that is being conveyed in this verse. The first and foremost thing is that the opening statement should be Mangalas Vachaka. Mangala means auspicious. It should sound auspicious. What is auspiciousness? Auspiciousness actually means when the Shastra is studied properly and you get the result of the Shastra, then only that study becomes auspicious. Any Vigna, any break, anything that prevents you from understanding the Shastra completely or putting it into proper practice, this is inauspicious. So the real concern of auspiciousness of the Acharyas is, I must somehow make sure that the readers who start reading this textbook should not stop till the end is reached. That is also our goal in our discussion. How many will stay till the end? How many will make sure that the very purpose of having written this text will be fulfilled in their lives? Otherwise, the Shastra is amangalam. The Shastra becomes mangalakari when all the aspirants get the results of what is intended by that Shastra. So, I would say this Atha and Ataha, of course, it is mentioned. Omkarascha Atha Shabdascha Dvavimau Brahmanapura Kandam Bhitva Viniryadau Tenam Mangaligau Smritau. So this is a way of, mythological way of explaining that by using the word Atha, I am giving some Mangala Sujagat. Because Omkara and Atha Shabda is said to have come out of the throat of Brahma. Now this is a mythological account. It's not very convincing for people who are intellectual minded today. That was enough in those days to refer to Brahman or Vishnu, and people would immediately feel, oh, this is great. But today we need also to go delve deeper. So what does Atha mean? Atha means here that the Guru is ready to teach. The readiness to share. I mean, what is the use of going to someone if they are not? How will the Shastra become Mangalakari? Only if the transmission occurs effectively. And for the transmission to be happening in an effective manner, the first and foremost requirement is the openness of the Guru to share whatever knowledge has been acquired. Whatever knowledge he has, then there is auspiciousness. I am in a state of giving. I am in a state of sharing my entire knowledge. That is the attitude of a teacher. Everything I will give without holding back anything. That is Atha. We cannot find such teachers today. Our great rishis were like that. They were just overflowing with compassion. Ever ready to but they were very careful. Only in Satpatra they will give. That is why the second Atha is there. The Guru is ready to give, but is there a person worthy of receiving it? Atha Ataha. So the two conditions to be fulfilled before the Shastra is explained. Because otherwise there will be Vikna. If the Guru is not open enough, if the Shishya is not ready to receive, then this will not go long. This will not move forward for long. After a while, everything will collapse. So they were not Arambhashuris. They start something. Prarabdhasya anarambho hi karyanam prathamam buddhi lakshanam. Prarabdhasya antargamanam dvidiyam buddhi lakshanam. So at the very outset, they are setting the goal. Like before we start on a journey, we put on the GPS. Where is my destination? How much time will I take to reach there? Which is the best route to go? So the text is bringing you into that orientation. So Atha means the teacher is ready to share. Ataha means the the Shishya is ready to receive. Only if both these things come together, not only is the Shishya ready to receive, they have undergone the necessary preparation. When such a teacher and a student comes together, then the transmission of knowledge is inevitable. It will realize its fruit. So with those two conditions, so by
You have to buy your own things. You have to buy your own things.
I'm on a meeting.
I'd like to request everybody to please mute there's some background noise coming. Yes. So this you can see how we can spend hours and days just discussing about Atha and Ataha. I'm just giving a very brief description of that. So whenever we start a Shastra, studying a Shastra, there are two questions to be asked. Is the teacher having the correct knowledge of that Shastra? Whom are you learning from? And is the teacher willing to share? Ayurveda is said to have first originated from Brahma. And the knowledge of Ayurveda that Brahma composed is infinite. There is no way. Pratitantrabhi yoge tu purusha ayusha samchaya. Even if you study to plan one grantha of this vast knowledge of Ayurveda, your whole lifespan will be gone. And still you wouldn't have completed it. That is also a problem. So what is it that is to be transmitted? Ananda Shastram Bahu Vedidavyam Alpascha Kalo Bhavascha Vigna Yat Sarabhudam Tadubasidavyam. So only what is essential can be discussed. And that is how the Shastra is written. That is how Ayurveda is written. So the aspirant is made to think about all these things so that there is steadfastness in the pursuit of this Shastra. The Shastra wants to make sure the person who starts will not stop, or better, they don't start at all. That is why this Athado, every chapter this will be repeated. Okay, one chapter you have succeeded. Second chapter you are starting again Athada. Are you sure? Can you complete it? Are you still motivated? Are you still willing to receive? Is the teacher really willing to share again? So, the first chapter itself is trying to give us the motivation. What is the purpose of studying this Shastra? And we are being given a very, very attractive goal. Dirghan Jivitiyam Adhyayam Vyakhyasyanah. Because the teacher is ready to share, because the students are ready to receive and are well prepared, we are going to expound the chapter called Dirghan Jivitiyam. Means long life or longevity. Now, who does not want this? Anybody who hears, oh, if you study Caraka-Saṁhitā, you will live long. That is very attractive. So he's not starting with any other simple, topics which may distract the person. It goes right into the heart of the matter. Saying, see, the whole goal of this Shastra is to make you live long. Now, if you want to take it, otherwise go. You want to live long? This is the question that the text is asking at the very outset. Who does not want to live long? Unless you are really depressed, anxious, and completely fed up with life and want to commit suicide, everybody wants to live long. So Dirghan Jeevitiyam Adhyayam is like an advertisement for the whole Caraka-Saṁhitā. Come on now, read and live long. Read and live long. Today we have all these, drinks and foods and all functional food. That food they will say, energy. This is boost the secret of your energy. So all this is done to attract people to buy it. But here is a genuine Shastra, which is not trying to sell something for money. It is trying to really give you, what is the highest worth of our lives. Dirghan Jeevitiyam. And it's very beautiful. That is the beauty of Sanskrit. There are 8 syllables in this. Dirghan Jeevitiyam. So, Ashta. The 8 syllables is also indicating, Mangalatvam. So, the Mangalatvam actually, that's what I mean. We can explain it religiously, we can explain it very spiritually and logically. As I said, Mangalatvam means anything, whatever you embark upon with a goal, that you should be able to realize it. And the result should come. That is Mangalam. Everything happens naturally. It reaches its fruition. That is Mangalam. When a flower blooms, it is Mangalam. When a flower becomes a fruit, it is Mangalam. When that fruit falls down and from the seed another tree sprouts, it is Mangalam. Because the plan of the universe is unfolding. Everything is happening according to that cosmic plan. And living a long life is the cosmic plan. Dying earlier is our foolish, our foolishness. Dying early is not the plan of nature. This is very clearly what Ayurveda says. Dying is the plan of nature. But dying early is not the plan of nature. We have to die. So Ayurveda is not Ayurvedo Amritanam. But the first chapter is not asking for Amrita. It is only asking for Dirghan Jeevitiyam, which also clearly says, which also clearly indicates that we cannot live forever. Najadu kaschid amara prathivyam jayate kvachit ato mrityur avarya syad kintu rogan nivarayat. So there is nobody who is born in this world who will not die. So don't worry about death. Don't die too soon. Urvarukamiva bandhanat mrityor mukshiyam amrita. You die like a ripened fruit falling from the mother plant. That is the idea of death in Ayurveda. Just like a fruit ripens and falls from the plant, let our death be so natural, so effortless. Death is also, according to Ayurveda, a meditative experience. If birth is to be celebrated like sunrise, death is like the sunsets. It is also equally beautiful, equally profound, when it happens timely. If death is timely, then it is beautiful. Then it is meditative. Untimely death is fearful. A great poet once said, "O death, where are thy stings that the seers have seen in thee?" Death is coming like a mother, putting a child to sleep. But today for us, death is like Yama. Very terrifying, very fearful. We think of death as something that is coming and attacking us. How many of us can imagine of death like a mother, coming and putting a child to sleep, very gently, very softly? According to Ayurveda, you can become aware of your death. You can bid farewell. Swachchanda mrityu. Kalidasa says that you can even reach a stage where you don't die, you give up your body. You can voluntarily pass away. Yogenande tanutyajam. At the end, these great kings of the Dilipa, of the Surya Vamsha, they gave up their bodies, they didn't die. So this is how we can overcome death. So Ayurveda, that is why we say Ayurveda is the knowledge of life. It is not medicine. It is Ayusho Vedam. So Vagbara would say Brahma Smritva Ayusho Vedam Prajapati Majjigrahat. And what is the word Ayus? Ayus does not mean just life. In Gadau, Gachati Ityayu. So that which goes away means death and life are just two sides of the same coin. That is what the word Ayus means. Ayus means life and Ayus means death also. So Ayurveda is giving us the knowledge of life and death in a very profound manner. So Dirghanjivitiyam, because the Shishya is ready, the Guru is ready, the Guru is very open, Shishya is ready to receive with an open mind. And we are talking about a hot topic, long life, longevity. Everything is set for the discourse to begin. Then comes the doubt. Is this a topic easy to understand? Not at all. It is difficult. But then comes the promise, Vyakhyāsyāmaha. It is in a plural, multiple times. Today, teachers will come and just finish their portions and go away. They don't bother whether students have understood or not. They have to just tick portions completed. Sometimes even portions are not completed. There is no checking. The exams don't really check whether the students have actually understood the deeper meaning. It is again, a mechanical process of creating some statistics. But this Shastra is telling Vyakhyāsyāmaha. Means I will keep explaining till you have understood. That is a big promise. Even if it takes 10 years, 20 years, don't worry, I will keep explaining till you have understood. So the teaching happened very slowly in those days. Athādu dirghanjivitiyam adhyayam vyakhyāsyāma. Vividha prakarena visheshena cha vyakhyāsyāma. If you don't understand in this way, I will explain in another way. If you don't understand in that way, I will explain in yet another way. If you want to know it in greater detail, I will explain in a greater way. That was the method of learning in those days. Today, we just want to cover very quickly, very superficially. And I have not seen this verse discussed at all in the Ayurvedic colleges today in this way. Some of the things I learned from some traditional gurus and I am sharing. I was surprised when I found a guru and shishya discussing on this one particular sentence for days and days together. So I asked, why are you spending so much time on one verse? When will you finish the Samhita? So he said, the shishya needs to be propelled. The shishya needs to be highly motivated. So the goal of the teaching is not just to convey the knowledge, but to create a very high level of motivation so that the students will not stop learning. So the first verse is motivational. So the more you motivate the student, the more the thirst will come and the more they will engage. Because to complete 9,000 and odd verses of the Caraka-Saṁhitā is a long, lifelong commitment. Study it in great detail. So every bit of the discussion has to be sweet, has to be profound, has to be deeply motivating and deeply insightful. So that is how this one phrase gives us a lot of interesting insights. Athādu dirghanjivitiyam adhyayam vyakhyāsyāma. So this verse clearly tells us that the goal of studying the Ayurveda, the goal of studying Caraka-Saṁhitā is to live a long life, to increase life expectancy of the whole population of humanity. In Sushruta Samhita is a description on how to do dead body dissection. And today people say it is only in recent times that life expectancy has increased. Today we have increased life expectancy, but health expectancy has reduced because more people are sick in old age. dementia, Alzheimer's, Parkinson's, crippled, osteoarthritis, lumbar spondylosis. People are living longer but with more misery. Blood pressure, cardiovascular problem, diabetes. They're leading a miserable long life. So you are prolonging death, not prolonging life. So that is a very big difference. So Ayurveda gives us a very interesting proof that people in those days really achieved what was there, what is discussed here. Caraka-Saṁhitā says when you take a dead body for dissection, it should be avarsha shatikam. Don't take a dead body which is more than 100 years, although it is more easily available. Can you imagine? Sushruta is discussing how difficult it is to get bodies that are less than 100 years old. After 100 years old, when an individual becomes more than 100 years old, you cannot study anatomy properly, because the organs are slightly damaged by that time. The features are not so clear. So he says, never choose a body that is more than 100 years for dissection. So don't you think this is a very clear indication that in Sushruta's times, most of the people were living more than 100 years. They couldn't get a body. It was rare. So when you get a body that is less than 100 years, Sushruta says, go and grab it, prepare it for anatomical dissection and understand in detail about the human anatomy. So this is Athāta Dirghanjivitiyam Adhyayam Vyakhyāsyāma. Any questions at this stage before we go to the next?
Hello, sir. Hello.
Yes?
Why writing is there Vyakhyāsyāma in this Bhuvachana?
Huh?
Vyakhyāsyāmi iti ekavachanam bhavat khalu. Why the writer is written Vyakhyāsyāma? Bhuvachanam is there.
Yes, that is what it's telling in many ways, in many, repeatedly we will do it. So it is as if, because of that multi-promise to explain in multiple ways, multiple times. That is why, and it also means that I will take the effort to consult others, get other experts and also explain to you. So this is a full commitment to make sure that everything will be done so that you will understand what needs to be understood. That is how I have. Yeah. Sumitra Veera Raghavan. Did you want to add? Yeah, little. You need to raise your voice a little bit more.
Okay, I think now it should be fine. So I had the same question of Vyakhyāsyāma being in Dvivachanam. So it's my way of interpretation correct? Since it is Ata Atho, which means the Guru and Sishya, as you explained now. Is it because of that they would have kept it in Dvivachanam?
Yes, it can, because we have this concept of Sahana Avavatu, Sahana Bhunaktu. The teacher and the student learn together also. And even their roles are sometimes interchanged. That is also a good explanation.
Okay, thank you.
And the student is also encouraged to, come with their own discourses. I will come later how Agnivesha was, firebrands to disciple. I reminded of Swami Vivekananda when you think of Agnivesha. Such a, dynamic, questioning, energetic student. His name Agnivesha. Yes, we can understand all that, but that is historical. Now, I like that explanation that Bahuvachana means multiple efforts to, which is actually what is important. That gives a message to the teachers that you shouldn't stop with just one explanation. You should try to explain till the student understands, or create the circumstances for the student to really get that insight. That is the dharma of a teacher. Not simply
But
just.
Sir, क्रिया बहुत होने से बहुवचन नहीं होता ना. मतलब जब एक क्रिया को बहुत लोग करते हैं, कर्ता के बहु होने से ही बहुवचन होता है.
True, true, that is true. I agree to that. So that is what I was saying, that the efforts, the Guru will also bring in the effort of multiple people. You can see in the Caraka-Saṁhitā, there are conferences, discussions and debates where multiple people are invited to do the Vyakhyana. So the
Who is
Guru
the writer here? There is one writer or
no,
so
this
many
is
writers
just
are
the
there?
scribe is telling what the Itihasmaha Bhagavan Atreya. So Atreya is telling that Vyakhyasamaha. So the next verse is telling Itihasmaha Bhagavan Atreya. Thus spake Bhagavan Atreya. It's not the scribe. The scribe is just a witness. He's just telling that now I am going to expound the chapter on Dirghanjividyam. So says Bhagavan Atreya. So this is a word of Bhagavan Atreya. So he is talking about, so you can see in many chapters he brings in lot of people. Atreya Bhadragapiyam, Yajja Purushiyam. The discussion, the Vyakhyana is done by multiple people, not just Atreya himself. So multiple efforts may be taken by the Guru to make sure that the Shishya understands. The Shishyas are also made to give the Vyakhyana in the process of learning. So we can see a lot of discussions, Agnesha coming with his views, and then debates happening. The Caraka-Saṁhitā also. Yes, that Adhikaritum of a Shishya is mentioned in Vimanasthana, 8th chapter, Shastra Pariksha, Shishya Pariksha and Acharya Pariksha are there. But I am not going to there now because then it will become a deviation. But it's all discussed in the Shastra. So how Buddhiman Atmanakari Guru Lakhavam Anubandham cha Samyak Viditva Shastrameva Adida Pariksheda. So first Shastra Lakshana is there. Which Shastra you should study. Then which Guru you should, they were given the freedom to do the Pariksha of the Guru also. Acharyam Pariksha. Then the Acharya is given the freedom to do the Pariksha of the Guru, of the Shishya also. When all these things come together, then only teaching starts. That is why Athada is so important. Athada means Shastra Pariksha has been done, Shishya Pariksha has been done, Acharya Pariksha has been done. So I told you eligibility criteria, some criteria are mentioned. I already told the story of Nagarjuna. The only eligibility criteria Nagarjuna gave for his student was compassion. The rest he said can be cultivated. So I would say the ultimate criteria is compassion, but you need both. In our spiritual tradition, it has been, yes, I think we don't need to, somebody said Vyakarana. I am giving the Bhavartha and the Artha that is relevant for, interpreting and understanding and applying it in current times. My explanations may not be strictly grammatical or based on Sanskrit. But we can have a discussion wherever it is relevant. It will be good to have a little bit of discussion also. So the adhikaritva of a shishya is compassion, but buddhi is also needed. There is a story of a monkey which saw fish jumping from the river and thinking that the fish wants to come out of the water. The monkey grabs it and puts it on the shore, and the fish dies. The monkey is heartbroken. So compassion alone without understanding can be problematic. But the text says that compassion is more ardra sandanada tyaga. Ardra sandanada. Swartha buddhi parartheshu paryaptamidi sadvridam. So compassion is considered to be the greatest because Shastram Shastrani Salilam Gunadosha Pravurtaye Patra Pekshinyata Pratnyam Bahu Shrutyena Brahmayet. So giving Shastra or Shastra or water should be based on the patram, patra pekshini. So that sat patratum we consider is the saduddesha of the shishya. Because all the knowledge is lokanugraha pravrittaha. The shastra should be of benefit to the loka. If it is to be lokanugraha pravritta, the shishya should have compassion. But it is the purpose, it is the goal of the guru to inculcate the intelligence. It is said, even the Bhagavad Gita, that a person who is steadfast in that devotion to the guru, dadami buddhi yogam tam yena mam ubayandite. For them, the intelligence will also be awakened by the grace of the guru. There is a story of Adi Shankaracharya. One of his disciples, Totaka, was a dumb person. He was not at all intelligent, but he was very sincere, very compassionate. And his friends used to always make fun of him, saying he is a dumb fellow. Why should you wait for him? One day when the disciples of Adi Shankara was making a mockery of Giri, his previous name, that please don't wait for Giri. This pillar is as good as him. Even if he comes and sits, he will not understand. So Adi Shankara was very moved. Giri was at that time, washing the clothes of his master with utmost devotion. And at that moment, Adi Shankara's abundant grace flowed to his disciple, and he composed in a new meter a verse in praise of his guru. Viditanam maya vishadeka kala na chakinchana kanchanam asti guru drutameha videhi kripam sahajam bhava shankara deshika me sharanam. So it is possible that by that abundant nurturing of a guru, even a person who does not have that much intelligence, they will become brilliant. So compassion was definitely given more importance than, this is how I have understood it. But the Vimanasthana 8th chapter gives a very elaborate description of how the Shishya should be. That is a more formal description. So Gurus did not always go by that very strictly. They took the call. If they found that the Shishya was very good in their mind, having enough compassion, even if they did not have some of the other qualities, they were always accepted. We have such stories in Jabala Upanishad also. Jabala was a boy whom his guru asked about his lineage, and he said, I don't know who my father is, I am the son of Jabala. And Jabala was a prostitute. And the guru said, only a Brahmin can speak the truth, so I accept you. So that is, these kind of stories abound in the Ayurvedic tradition also. So I think in the eligibility criteria, we have looked at more spiritual qualities and, disposition that would make them beneficial and useful for the world. There was a question in the chat. Yes, Anubandha Shadushtaya is there in this Shastra also. So in our next class, we will discuss about Anubandha Shadushtaya also. Ayurveda discusses, it is discussed in the commentary. So even in this commentary of Chakrapadi, Anubandha Shadushtaya is discussed. Today we will not have time, it's another 10 minutes. I want to go to the next verse. Itihasmaha Bhagavan Atreyaha. So this Vyakhyasamaha, that we will explain it, and the teacher goes into the plural saying that he will take efforts to bring in other experts also to explain if necessary. But after giving that commitment, is Bhagavan Atreya himself saying this. So here is a very interesting thing. Iti hasmaha Bhagavan Atreya. So here we are saying ahasma. So the sma prayoga has a certain significance here. So what is indicated here is that this is a very, very important point, that according to the Ayurvedic tradition, the transmission, you must get Dakshaha Tirthatta Shastrarthaha. You must study the Shastra from a person who is a Tirtha. Tirtha means one who has crossed over to the other side from ignorance to knowledge. So he's a Tirtha. So Tirtha is a place of pilgrimage where the water is very easy to cross. So it symbolizes that Shastra, all the spiritual practices that make us easy to cross the river which is otherwise difficult. So that place in which it is easy to cross over became called as a Tirtha. So only a Tirtha can help us cross over from ignorance to knowledge. So it is very, very important. So that is why in Ashtanga Sangraha and other textbooks also it is said, Dakshaha Tirthatta Shastrartha. You must study the Shastra from a Tirtha. And that is why here it is mentioned, Itihasmaha Bhagavan Atraya. The indication is that you must learn directly from a person. It should not be secondary knowledge. Ahasma means that for Agnivesha who is writing this text, the teaching of Atreya is pratyaksha. It is not paroksha. I have just experienced this. But today for us it is paroksha. The teachings of Atreya is paroksha. Because we have not heard him directly. But the one who wrote this has heard it directly. Itihasmaha Bhagavan Atreya. So I am giving first-hand knowledge. So the indication is that even if you are learning from a new guru, that transmission has to happen in such a way that the student always learns from somebody who has first-hand knowledge of the Shastra, not just theoretical hearsay. This is what my grandfather or my great-great guru has been saying, and through tradition we have simply been repeating it. That is not how Shastra is transmitted. Shastric transmission is a transmission of experience. And it has to happen, it has to be transmitted from somebody who has that experience. And that is why that word Itihasmaha Bhagavan Atreya is mentioned. So we can see that Caraka-Saṁhitā, as I was mentioning earlier, it is the notes of a student. Agnivesha, the student Agnivesha, has written the notes and converted to a whole compendium. So for this reason, the student was always empowered. The student should get the experience. That is the goal of the guru. That is parampara. What is aparam? What is param becomes aparam. What is unreachable to the Shishya becomes reachable, so that the next person in the lineage will also learn from a person who has the experience. In fact, the whole tradition was such that the goal of the guru was to make sure that the student is better than the guru. And that is clearly what you can see in the Caraka-Saṁhitā. Atreya is trying to create a student who is more brilliant than him. Agnim Vishati iti Agnivesha. Agnivesha is somebody who is able to enter into the fire of knowledge, who is able to self-transform so profoundly.
I didn't get that. Could you try again? It's okay.
That is my Siri speaking. I'm sorry for that disturbance. So, Buddhair Visheshastatrasid Nopateshantaram Mune Tantrasya Kartha Prathamam Agnivesho Yato Bhavat. So, Agnivesha was the most brilliant of Atreya's disciples, and Atreya tries to bring about that complete transformation in Agnivesha, so that the transmission of this knowledge will happen without any loss. So today we say lossless transmission, noiseless, rendition. There is only the signal. That knowledge has to be transmitted without any loss, and it has to be actually augmented and made more powerful so that it will again get transmitted to the next generation. That is the effort that you can see happening here. So you have to learn from a person who lives, who walks the teaching, who is a living embodiment of this teaching. And Atreya was a living embodiment, and Agnivesha was also a living embodiment of the teaching of Ayurveda. And everybody, and the moment this broke, the moment today we are talking about what Atreya said, for us it is Paroksham. It is not Smaha anymore. For us it is just some words. We are not able to relate to the experience of what is there in this Shastra. And that has happened because of the break in the continuity of the tradition. So here is a very interesting verse which says that it is not possible actually to explain everything. Nanu katham agnivesha sagala padartha ashesha vishesha jnane vyakyayam ayurvedam vyakyasyati yato na tavad bheshajadinam ashesha vishesha pratyaksha jneyaha. All possibilities we cannot explain in Shastra. Sarva padarthanam visheshanam pratyaksha vishayatvad अन्वय व्यतिरेकाभ्याम तो सर्व पदार्थ अवधारणं दुष्करमेव यत एकमेव मधु स्वरूपेण जीवयति मारयति चोष्णं समग्रं च खभ प्रकृतेर्हितम् अहितं वाद प्रकृते अनूपे सात्म्यम् असात्म्यं मरु शीते सेव्यम् असेव्यं ग्रीष्मे हितम् अवृद्धे वृद्धे चाहितम् अल्पं गुणकरम् आबाधकरम् अत्युपयुक्तम् आमदां गतम् उदरे उपक्रम विरोधित्वात् अतिविभ्रमकरम् कागमाजी युक्तं पक्व निगुचेन च सहोपयुक्तं मरणाय अथवा बलवर्ण वीर्य तेजोपघाताय भवति इत्येवमादि तत्तद् यदुक्तं तत्तद् शतशः करोति. So just to explain about honey, this is a very interesting concept in Ayurveda, that na cha kinchit adosha nirgunam guna bhuyastvam ato vichintitam. Everything cannot be explained in the Shastra. The method of assessing what is good and bad for life, ayushyani, anayushyani cha, dravya guna karmani, vedayati ityatopya ayurveda. So Ayurveda gives us the insight to understand how particular substances behave in different contexts or different situations. And all of this cannot be explained in the Shastra. Shastra ati vistara bhayat. So what Shastra is giving you is the yukti. So the Vyakhyana will be done up to the point where you develop that intelligence to understand. Okay, honey is good, but honey can also be bad. Today there is a continuous debate on whether tea is good or coffee is good, or coffee is bad or tea is bad. And every day we hear sometimes tea is good, sometimes they say tea is bad, sometimes coffee is good, and people just, say, go to hell with these advices, we will just do what we want. There is no consensus about the goodness or badness of so many things today. And Ayurveda clearly says that is because we are not doing a contextual assessment of what is good or bad. Hitahitatvepi ekanta niyamosmada nishchita. We cannot ever say this is good or this is bad. If anybody wants to study Ayurveda to understand, okay, this is good for me, this is bad, we cannot get to such ekanta niyamas. What is good in the morning may be bad in the evening. What is good in summer may be bad in winter. So when you say Vyakyasyama, it doesn't mean that everything will be explained. It is impossible to explain everything. But enough explanation will be given so that we develop this discrimination or this intelligence. So I think our time is up for today, and we will continue tomorrow.
Namaste, sir. Can I have a small question, please?
Yes.
So actually, please go back to the initial part of the lesson. Initial part. See, here, like, I just want to know, we have verses here, and then next,
So this is the commentary. This is the commentary.
Okay.
The text is only here. And I was told not to give so much attention to the commentary because we want to study from the core text itself.
Okay. Here, like, after the verses, initial
The verses is just the commentator starting his Ishtadevata Namaskara. Gunatraya Vibhedena Murti. This is the words of the commentator, Chakrapani,
Okay.
not Charaka. That is not part of the original Caraka-Saṁhitā.
Okay. So there are many slokas there. I mean,
Yeah,
verses
yeah.
are
Those are all
mentioned.
part of the. All in blue is commentary. That which is in the brown, reddish brown is the original text.
Oh, yes, sir. Got
So
it.
we have read only two passages. Athado Dirghan Jividiyam Adhyayam Vyakyasyama.
Oh,
And
the whole thing is, I mean, it explanation to that one single sentence.
yes, yes, yes.
Oh, okay, now got it.
So
Okay.
that's why I said that you can be. Sometimes they discuss this for months together, just one or two verses. That was the old method of learning. Today it is very quickly read with a simple translation.
Okay, thank you. Actually, so we have 9,000 plus verses,
Verses which
small
are being
sentences.
studied like this.
Okay, okay, sir. Yes, sir.
And
Thank
my
you.
understanding is every time I come back to read it again, I'm getting new ideas. So that is why they say you have to. This is an upasana. You cannot stop reading it. More and more times you read, more and more in-depth knowledge you will get.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
Okay, so namaste for today. We will meet again tomorrow.
स्थापकाय च धर्मस्य सर्वधर्मस्वरूपिणे अवतारवरिष्ठाय रामकृष्णाय ते नमः रामकृष्णाय ते